Hey guys, James here. Today I'm going to be reviewing this gliding mitre saw by Bosch. I'm up here at a mate's place up in the Blue Mountains in Sydney. We're going to be doing some framing in the garage, so I'll pull this out of the box, set it all up, I'll show you in the video how it performs, and I'll come back and tell you a little bit about some of the features of the product. What I'll also be reviewing in conjunction with that gliding mitre saw is this saw stand by Bosch. So basically all it does is fold out and then your saw clips on the top of it. So it's simply a matter of flipping it over, undoing these little buttons on the side, the legs lock into place. Flipping it over, and then you've got these adjustable sides that slide out just to support your saw. And then what you've also got on the side here is these adjustable sections that go up and down, so when the saw's on, you can get your timber nice and straight. Okay, so straight out of the box, first thing you notice is the sheer size of this thing. It's an absolute beast, it's massive. I can't believe how big this thing is. Look, I'm crouched down beside it and it's up to chest height on me. It is a massive saw and weighs a ton. So we'll set it up on the saw and see how it goes on the saw stand. But I can see straight away that this is a type of saw that you'd probably just have set up in your shop. It wouldn't be something that you'd probably carry around from job site to job site, unless you were going to keep it planted in that one position and just use it for like weeks on end. It's not really something you want to throw around the back of your truck and try and move it from room to room, just because of the sheer weight. It's more of a shop saw, I would say. Okay, so the next step now is to get these little supporting bars that go on the saw bench underneath here and bolt it onto the saw, and then we can pop it on. The trick here is to only do these up finger tight, because what you want to do is making sure that these side pieces are actually parallel to each other. So I take the tape, just measure between 530 at the front, 545 at the back. So I'll need to shift this one across a bit. 40, 40. Trick with this is just to sort of lap it over at the front. Leave these loose and then you can tighten these off at the front just to lock it onto these two supporting rails. Once you get it on, it'll be a matter of them working out as if the balance of the saw is actually sitting right on those rails. They're quite long, so you can either move it forward or back, depending on how it's weighted and how it's sitting. What you've also got down here is this little adjustable foot. So if it's sitting on an uneven surface like this is here, we can wind that up and get it right. Now the saw's on, I'll just test to see how it's weighted. So it's feeling pretty good actually, it's feeling quite solid. I thought with the weight of this great big saw that it'd want to topple over, but that's actually sitting quite comfortably, even like giving it a good rock. It's a little bit of a shake, but you're not really going to slam that back, you're just going to be cutting timbers. So I think we're ready to go. So the last step now is to slide these out and adjust them for the height of our saw bench. Basically just line these up, line of sight with the top of the table, and then we're good to go. This does have a little stop on the side here which I'll flip over, and our timber's pretty much ready to slide all the way through. That thing's got some power. Where I can see this type of saw really coming in handy is probably in a joinery shop or in a garage. If you just had a workshop set up, the good thing about this sort of sliding knuckle, I'll take this off the back so you can see it. See this hinge set up here? You can have this saw right up against the back of a wall and that just slides in and out, whereas your standard compound mitre saw has the rail and the arm, so when you push the saw back, the rail goes back. So in theory, most of those compound saws have to be at least a foot off the wall, so this saves a bit of bench space. If you've got like a long bench, put your saw down there, bolt it into position, and this would be perfect for a garage or workshop. So that's one nice little function and one feature there straight away that I can see. Okay, so I've got my cutting list. Now we're good to go. Go knock up a heap of these studs that are in the garage and start putting the framing together. When doing your cutting, before it'll enable you to pull down the saw, there's actually this little lever here that needs to be popped to the side so it disengages and you can actually pull the blade down. That's a little security feature that you need to get used to. Pop it to the side and then you can actually drop it. Without doing that, it just stays stuck up top. Down the side here you've got the locking mechanism to hold it away. Pull that down, pop that in, and that'll hold it locked into position. Okay, so there you have it. We've used this saw for basically trimming out this garage and converting this into a bedroom. So I'm going to show you some of the features of the saw now, and then I'll come back and tell you about some of the positives and some of the negatives with the saw. So what I've really found interesting is this knuckle. The way this actually works, you've got one that closes up over the top and you've got one that actually slides 90 degrees to that underneath here. Quite unique. Got your standard lock-in button there to hold it down. Pull that out to take it up. On the side here you've got your depth adjustment. If you want to do some trenching, wind that up or down, flick that across for that to lock in. For the fences, on the side here we've got this little button that we flick open and that allows that to slide back and you can lock it in. And the reason we want to slide those back is you need that out of the way of the motor so it can come down for our 45. We also have these guards here which extend out. So on the side here we've got a little red button we flip out and that allows this to pull out. Another thing that's quite cool is when these guards slide out, just here you've got this little stopping mechanism that you can use to wind over. Now this is going to be great if you've got a certain amount of timber that you want to cut a set length. You basically just get your tape, take that out, so you want to make a 500 cut, lock that over, slide your timber in and just go cut, and just repetitively cut the same amount. And you've got that on both sides of the saw, so they can both extend out. And it's also the same here with that guard at the top, the fence sliding out. On these fences we can also flick these out, but that allows us for the guard to come completely off. You slide this back, gets to that point, and you can take it off altogether. Pop that back down and in, lock that over, and you can't get it out. First get the saw, this is locked in. You need to pop that down and then that allows it to slide forward. What you can also do then is clip that back up and that stops it from sliding. That basically locks it with the saw out. Up on the top of the saw here we've got a couple of features. This is the safety feature, so you've got to push that over before you can then engage the blade coming down, or that dropping motion. Let that go and you can't pull that down. What you've also got at the top here is this section is the little laser, and that's where you adjust it. There's a couple of screws up in the top here. You can either take that this way or up and down. It can move across and it can move sort of diagonally. Now we probably need to adjust this a little bit, only because I noticed that the laser was a fraction out from the mark. We're only talking sort of a millimetre or half a millimetre, but that's where we need to get into to do it. See here on the saw, you can loosen that off. You grab these two sections here and then you can slide the saw around. Want to lock it into position, you let go of these two red buttons and you can basically lock it into 0, or you can swing it around. If you're not on one of those fixed points like 30, 25 or something like that, this is where you can actually slide it across to something, you know, if you want half a millimetre or a millimetre, then you screw that forward and that'll basically lock the saw on that degree setting. On the side here, you lift this lever up and that allows you to disengage the 45 degree on the saw. So if you pop that up, and then on the other side over here you'll see there's a little 45 degree mark. We can flip that over and that'll allow the saw to drop over 45 each way. Now I'm still playing around with this. You can flip it over to 45 and it'll lock it at 45 up on the settings at the back, or you can flip it over to 47 And what that does, it allows it just to go over that little bit extra to 47 degrees. And you flip that back. I'm still trying to get used to this. I might have to read the instructions a little bit more, but getting this handle down and setting this properly when dropping at 45 is getting a little bit tricky. So that's the only thing that I'm playing around with at the moment that I need to sort of study up a little bit more on, because I'm finding it hard to actually get this spot on. You also have a pin down here that you can pull in and out, which allows that to lock in at 15, 30 degrees and a couple of set preferences there. Alright, so there you go guys, one saw reviewed. I showed you some of the features and I've used the saw for a couple of days, trimming out our garage inside there, and it's been really good. It's a powerful little machine and it cuts through the timber quite well. It's accurate. I like this little knuckle at the back here. I think that's quite unique. Like I mentioned before, you can have this in a workshop, have it up against the back of a wall and not have to worry about your standard sliding compound arm that'll reach out the back, say an extra foot or so. So you can put this tied up against the wall, which is really good. I also like the fact that these guards are quite beefy, quite chunky. They're quite tall and you can pretty much slide those out to where you need them. The guards are all nice and solid. The stops are good. Like, all the functions feel solid and it feels like a really well built saw. So there's a couple of the positives. Some of the negatives, the only thing that I'm having trouble with is the functions at the end of the saw here. Trying to get the saw to drop 45. I know you can get it to go a little bit further with 47. I've played around with that and I've got it to work sometimes. Other times I'm struggling with it a little bit. I just need to study up on the instructions a little bit more, but I find that that's just a little bit awkward. There's also this locking arm that allows it to drop 45. That took some time to actually get it disengaged before I could actually then roll it over on the 45 each way. But now that I've worked it out, it's okay, but I just can't get it to lock back down. So again, playing around with probably just the functions at the end of this saw is the main thing. The only other negative is obviously the weight. It's a beast of a saw. It is 32 kilos, so it really takes two people to carry this properly and to set it up. But once it is set up, it's solid, it's stable, and it's probably a saw that I could see more set up either in like a timber yard or in a workshop where you set it up once and you don't have to move it again. I couldn't really see that I'd be carrying this around the back of the truck day to day from job to job. It's just too heavy to actually manhandle around. So a couple of guys to set it up. It really should be a two-man operation, and then from there you want to have it pretty much on the job site for about a week or so. You wouldn't want to be moving it between floor to floor or something like that. It's also quite high, like with your arm up here. When you go to sort of drop it down, I did find that I was sort of struggling to pull it that first little bit, whether that's the knuckle design, but it is, like I said, such a big beefy saw that it's quite cumbersome. But other than that, like I said, it's well built. All the guides, all the little locking mechanisms, all the guardrails are really solid and not flimsy at all. So well built, happy with the saw. There you go, that's one saw reviewed. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, give it a thumbs up, like or subscribe. I'll catch you next time. Cheers.